Hello, hello everyone. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles and A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love from Enlightened World Network. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza, and well, we're approaching the beginning, aren't we? And by that I mean the end of the workbook for students. We've come a very long way in about a year and 5 months' time. And we are nearing the conclusion of the workbook. And well, I say it's the beginning because, well, it is the beginning. There is in Tibetan Buddhism, a tradition known as Nundro. And some of you may know, I have studied Tibetan Buddhism, especially in the Kagyu lineage, extensively in this lifetime. And there is a practice known as Nundro, which involves tremendous repetition of 4 prayers and mantras that takes several years to complete. And when one is finished, it's considered to be a major accomplishment. A major accomplishment. And well, a woman that I know, a friend of mine, once finished and took all of her texts to the teacher and said, "I'm finished. What now?" And the teacher opened the text up to page 1, handed it to her, and said, "Here." So whether you choose to repeat the workbook in this manner or not, I really want to commend you for your patience, for your diligence, your dedication, and your desire to overcome fear that has led you to this point. So very nice job. Desire to overcome fear. That's a big one, isn't it? Because this workbook leaves people strewn in its wayside, doesn't it? All along the path, there are people who start this with the best intentions and only get into the first few lessons before they stop. Maybe you get further than that, and the ego always pushes back. So whether you do the workbook or some other path, you can expect some difficulty. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, is it? Because it's not all rainbows and unicorns to do the real work of looking at who you are, really. Looking at the illusions that you've bought into, that can be painful, can't it? It can be painful to think, oh, I've been deceiving myself wrongly and mistakenly, of course. Have some forgiveness, some compassion for yourself. But we've been wandering around, committing all kinds of nasty acts, judging people, right? Saying mean things, doing mean things to people, behaving as though there were no such thing as spirituality or a higher self. We've run around lost and amok. And it's not pretty to take an honest look at that. The ego always resists. So whether you follow this path or a combination of paths or anything else, expect resistance. It's my job, really, to put it to you like that. Expect resistance. You must expect resistance. If it's rainbows and unicorns that you're after, then A Course in Miracles might be something that you take a little break from and wait on. Because while it is a happy and beautiful and completely beneficent message, the work that we have to go through involves taking a look at our illusions and letting them go, forgiving them, in other words. becoming the person that you're meant to be, allowing the truth to simply be, is a process. We can do it right now, instantaneously, in the present moment. But most of us simply aren't there, are we? We need a workbook for students. We need a text, a manual for teachers. We need prayer. We need a meditation practice. We need devotionals. We need to continue to reinforce these ideas again and again and again. Well, that's what time is for. So to the extent that you're making very good use of that, that's excellent. It truly is. So we're nearing the end of the workbook. We have been through lesson 340, believe it or not, and we're at the question interval between lesson 340 and 341 here. And the question, continuing with the overarching presentation of part 2 of the workbook here, a general question, a metaphysical, a philosophical, a highly practical and real question, followed by 10 workbook lessons that support that. So the question here that we're going to consider in this recording is, what is a miracle? That's a really good question, isn't it? It's one of those beginner's mind questions that often people that have been doing this for a long time are hesitant to ask, because somehow we get the impression, don't we? This has happened to me. It's happened to all of us. We get the impression that, oh, I'm afraid to ask that question because I feel like I should know it, right? I've been practicing this for 9 years. Yeah, I'm going to let somebody else ask that. It's kind of like being that kid in class that raises his or her hand, asks a question, and then you hear an audible sigh of relief from the 15 other people that wanted to know the same thing, but were afraid to ask, right? These are these kind of questions, and they're great. As Jesus dictated A Course in Miracles, he knows what he's talking about, doesn't he? So this is a beautiful question. What's a miracle? Well, is it Yoda lifting Luke Skywalker's fighter out of the swamp? Is it Luke moving rocks on Star Wars? Is it levitation? Is it bending spoons? Is it levitating a car? Is it causing mountains and other obstacles to move with simply the power of our will and thought? Is it that? Is that what a miracle is? Is a miracle a healing miracle of the physical body, where someone is stricken with an ailment, say cancer, or is unable to walk and then drops the crutches and goes off and runs a half marathon? Is that a miracle? Well, yeah, perhaps all of that is a miracle. A Course in Miracles, well, it's a course in miracles with a message that a miracle is accessible to you. You are a miracle worker. We all are miracle workers. We do not have to bend spoons. If you do, great. You don't have to put your hands on a sick person and heal them with the power of your own thought and energy. If you do, great. Miracles are accessible right here, right now. They are our birthright, and we should work them and claim them for our own. They don't belong to us. We give them away. Forgiveness is a miracle. They're accessible to all of you. And I do mean that. Everyone. So Jesus puts it very simply here in the first paragraph of the description. What is a miracle? It's a correction. It doesn't create, and it doesn't really change anything at all. It's simply a correction. in our own mind. It looks on devastation, as the Course puts it, and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. Let's go through this again. It looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It looks on war and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It looks on judgment and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It looks on a physical body that has come down with a cold and a sinus infection and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It's a reminder. Forgiveness, as I've said, and the Course says and shows us throughout, forgiveness is a miracle. And, well, the Course puts it quite simply, forgiveness is the home of miracles. This is how we're all miracle workers, and a reminder that this Course defines the miracle as any shift from fear to love, from the ego to God, from little self to self with a capital S, right? From light, from darkness, to light, right? Any shift like that is, in fact, a miracle. We offer them, and to give and receive are one in truth. Miracle follows that which is known in the Course as the law of love. To give and to receive are one in truth. You extend forgiveness, you're forgiven. There's no one out there to forgive. You're forgiving your own mind. And as I always do, I invite you, I kind of insist, let's be honest, I implore you to read the material in the Course workbook. Believe it or not, people don't. They glance over thinking, oh, I know that. I know that already. Well, you know what we say about repetition, the 1000th time that you see something that you think you already know, you realize, ooh, I didn't really know that. I'm now getting it. So I want you to get it. That would be the best and the kindest thing that you could do. Not just for yourself, but for every living thing, is to get it today, right now. So as you read this, I want to call your attention to a very famous passage from this Course, which is paragraph 5 of the commentary here. What is a miracle? The paragraph that concludes this description is really beautiful. It's quite poetic. Miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven on a dry and dusty world where starved and thirsty creatures come to die. Now they have water. Now the world is green. And everywhere the signs of life spring up to show that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality. There is no death. What has life has immortality. That's not you. This isn't me. That's a communication mechanism that we lay aside when its service is done. Is your mind ready to entertain that notion? It's prominent, as we've seen throughout this Course. This is not for the faint of heart. And you want to know what? Your heart is not faint. at all. This is universal. And in order to experience the truth of who we are, we've got to forgive. We've got to look upon everything that we think we've done to ourselves, to each other, everything that we think other people have done to us, and simply recognize that it's not true. God is. Only God is. Love can only extend itself. This is the verbal math that we refer to, that underlies all of world spirituality. All of it, no matter what the outward manifestation may be. Love can only extend itself. We're in a process here in time, in the world that we see that appears so solid and real. We're in a process of waking up. In other words, we're in a process of allowing truth to be as it is. How do we remove the barriers that we've thrown up to truth? Forgiveness, miracles. That's how. So allow yourself to look upon devastation and remind yourself that this is not real. Don't make it real in the world and then deny that it exists. That's not it. A miracle says it's never been real in the first place. It's never been real in the first place. See, that's very different than accepting something as concrete reality and then denying it. That's not very useful, is it? Because you leave the supposed concrete reality in place. A miracle looks on what we deem to be concrete reality and says, that's not reality. See the difference? It's very different. It's healing, it's powerful, and you have the, well, let's put it this way, the God-given right to all of this. This is who you are. So I invite you to step into that today and every day. Then, as always, I appreciate very much your joining me here on this series of recordings and your practice. Yeah, above all else, that is always the best offering you can give. The best offering you can give is your forgiveness. Extend it. Do it again and again and again